Hi. Okay. Yay. I just hit fundraiser. Sorry. Hi, everyone. We're going to do a fundraiser for Vital Voices. I've invited Milan Viveer to come and talk to us about what's going on the ground in Afghanistan. As you all have probably heard, we have, hold on, I think this is Milan now. Hold on. I hope this is right. Anyway, whatever we raise during this Instagram live, I'm going to match for Vital Voices. Milan, how are you?
I'm been better, Katie, but it's always good to see you.
Hey, Milan, do me a favor and just tilt your computer or your camera down. I'm not. That's perfect. A little bit more.
There you
Uh,
go.
this is so great to see you. I'm sorry it's under terrible circumstances, Milan, but I was mentioning that I have the most generous Instagram followers, really smart, very engaged, very concerned about what's happening on the ground in Afghanistan. And I know that you are involved in, and really you understand the myriad of efforts that are going on right now. And you've been in this kind of space, if you will, Milan, for many years. So can you just give us an update? But actually, before I do that, there's terrible news about 12 U.S. Marines were killed, 15 injured, as I mentioned, 60. These are estimates because I don't know why. And Afghan civilians at Kabul Air Force because of a bomb, two bombs. I guess I will turn off comments, but I sort of, yes, well, I will mention the military families. Hold on 2 seconds. Um, anyway, I wanted to first hear your reaction to what happened at the airport.
Well, I think like so many who are with you today, Katie, we watched the president just a little bit ago talk about this. It's obviously a very sad day. We mourn the loss of those service people. We mourn the loss of the Afghans who so desperately wanted to be evacuated because they have been with the United States through all of this and served side by side with us. So what happened is just horrible. These suicide bombings, the terrorists very much trying to put the attention on them. What the president said was extremely encouraging. He said, "This will not deter us. We are determined to go forward in getting out the Americans who still remain in Afghanistan, as well as those Afghans who have stood with us through all of these years and worked closely with us."
But Milan, how is that going to happen if, in fact, U.S. troops are pulled by this August 31st deadline? That just doesn't seem to. That seems to be incongruous. These two goals.
Well, what you're alluding to is that the president has also said earlier, and I guess repeated again, that we will end this mission by the 31st. And what's troubling about that is we don't have between now and the 31st for evacuations. If that deadline stays, we literally only have a day or two because the other days will be spent dismantling the American presence at the airport. There have been many people, many governments calling on the United States to extend that time. I think the president has left the door open a tiny bit. So we don't know exactly, and I presume that some of it will be determined by how things go in the next 24 to 48 hours.
What is the situation on the ground, especially for girls and women who are in hiding? This is ostensibly the kinder, gentler Taliban, but you are hearing evidence and to the contrary. Can you just give us a sense of what you're hearing that's happening in Afghanistan right now?
And let me say that we are in literally hour by hour touch, if not even more frequent, with many of the Afghans on the ground. This is a very close effort that we're making together to try to get particularly those women who are most at risk, who have worked with us hand in glove, implemented our programs, and are number one targets for the Taliban. And in fact, many of them are getting death threats. They're being awakened during the night. They can't dare speak a word of English for fear that they will be overheard. They're having to get rid of any papers that are in English. It's just terror. Terror happened in the late 90s when the Taliban were ruling before they were overthrown after 9/11. Is it motivated so many of us, myself included, and probably you remember this so well, when women were forced to wear those burqas. If their ankles showed, they were flogged. They were not allowed to work outside the home. The girls were not allowed to go to school. It was horrible. And the great fear is that that will continue. And there's reason to believe that, because as the Taliban were moving towards Kabul over the last many weeks, what was happening in the territories in which they were in control was the girls weren't going to school. The women were told, you stay in your home. There was a whole assassination campaign of women journalists, women judges, women who were involved in the Human Rights Commission. So its actions speak louder than words. They have been on a PR offensive to say all is going to be well, but we can't believe that. One, because already the demonstrations are to the contrary, but moreover, their singular goal is to establish an Islamic Emirates. And what that means, and if you hear their leaders, they will say, girls can go to school within the Islamic code. Women can work within the Islamic code. This code is their code. It's a radical extremist form of Islam. And so one can't believe their word for all of these reasons.
So, by the way, thank you all who have donated. I want people to understand what they're donating to and the kind of work that Vital Voices and the organizations that it is supporting is doing. And then I'd like to talk to you, Milan, because you're an extremely intelligent person who's very familiar with foreign policy. I would like to ask you about how this was handled, because I think the administration has been roundly criticized. But before we do that, I want you to explain, and I would just urge all of you watching, I'm going to match whatever is raised and probably then some. But if you could tell us about the organization Vital Voices and what the work that you're doing.
So I am with the Georgetown Institute for Women, Peace, and Security. We're working very closely with Vital Voices, which I co-founded years ago with Hillary Clinton and others. This is a very collaborative effort. The fund will go to meeting the incredible needs that these Afghan women are going to have. Currently, it means trying to get them out safely. We have chartered an airplane. We're trying to work with others to get them safely through the gates. We've already evacuated a considerable number and their families, but we have far more that we're eager to see leaving. That is expensive, but it is more than worth it in terms of the lives that will be saved. And then when they get to the transit country, let's say Albania or North Macedonia, wherever they go for a very short period of time, their expenses have to be met. They are going with nothing but the clothes on their backs. They have nothing else they're allowed to take with them because it's impossible. And so just to eat, to pay for their shelter, that is going to require support. And then when they move to the United States or wherever they're going to go, and some are in the United States already at Army installations, where they are going through the processing procedures, we will be trying to support them through that period until they are completely resettled. So there are tremendous needs that are going to be incurred by the women, not just when they get on the airplane, pray God they do, but beyond being on that airplane and landing safely someplace.
Is there going to be humanitarian assistance for some of these women who aren't able to flee Afghanistan. And by the
Well,
way,
there will be, and refugee agencies, the I'm losing you, Katie.
that's okay. I think we had a glitch. Can you hear me now?
She's frozen.
Okay. Well, keep talking. It'll probably clear up in a moment. It
I
might
can
be the
hear
Wi-Fi.
you now for a while, which is never a good
Yeah.
thing. You're frozen.
Yeah, this happens. This happens. But you were saying there are agencies on the ground in Afghanistan?
Yeah. Well, there's two different things happening. So you've got the refugee groups that are already being contacted and moving forward with those who will come out, and beyond the women, it's of course those interpreters, those who work so closely with the military, etc. And then there are those who are going to be left behind, because let's face it, it's going to be millions and millions that remain in Afghanistan who aren't going to get out. And there's already a severe humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. Uh, Health needs, it's only going to get worse, and it gets very cold there. Winter will come in sharply. Fuel, electricity, some kind of a where they have to provide a humanitarian at some point, a corridor, so that this humanitarian assistance can get in. But that will have to be done through the international community working with the Taliban.
Yeah, we're having some technical issues, but I heard you sort of in bits and pieces, Milan, about the efforts that we're going to have to continue in country after the U.S. military leaves. I thought it was really interesting, and I know you all can hear me as hopefully Milan buffets or whatever she's doing. 80% of the nearly 250 people in Afghanistan who have been forced to flee their homes since the end of May have been women and children, according to the UN Refugee Agency. So there are many people in desperate straits, obviously, trying to flee the country. Milan, can you hear me? I think we're having some technical problems, but so far we've raised almost $4,000 for Vital Voices, which is providing assistance for girls and women and families who are fleeing Afghanistan. There you go. Milan, can you hear me now? I think we're going to have to iron out some of these technical glitches. Can you hear me, Milan? You know what I'm going to do, you guys? I'm going to just stop and start up again, and we'll just finish our conversation. So far, we've raised $3,939. 86 of you have donated to Vital
Somebody
Voices.
doesn't
Thank
want
you
us
all
to
so
talk to.
much. Yeah, now can you hear me, Milan? Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Okay, let me start. What, can we get to 4,000, you guys, before I just do this? Hold on 2 seconds. Milan, can you hear me? This is frustrating. Okay, let me go ahead and sign off, and I'm going to sign back on. Okay, we'll be right back, everybody. Come back when you can.
I don't know if you can
$3,969.
hear me, Katie, but I can
Hey, Adrian.
hear you.
Yeah, we're gonna start it again and see if we can make it better. Okay, hold on, Milan. We'll be right back.